It's an unseasonably warm Saturday, January 7, 2012. This is Mercedes Diesel Guy. This is my Dahon Classic III folding bike, and this is my first video of the year. It is unseasonably warm, so I do kind of have the weather to do car stuff, but I don't have any car stuff that needs to be done at the moment. I figured I would start in on this project. I picked this bike up sometime in the first half of 2011. Basically just cleaned it up a bit and stuck it down here in the basement. So I got it real cheap because it's old and it has some problems. Aside from some surface rust here on the frame, which I'll have to take care of when I repaint it, there is some flexing at this hinge right here. You can see when I pick the bike up. So I have looked online, and that seems to be a fairly common problem with these old Dahons. I'm thinking that once I take the mechanism apart, there might be something I can do to rig it to be solid again. What else? I'm gonna have to tighten up and rebuild the crank a bit because I'm getting a little bit of play right there. And generally, aside from those repair items, just needs a good once over and cleaning. And I'm probably going to replace a lot of small stuff like these quick release skewers. This one here is rusted, probably almost solid. The one by the bottom part of the seat post there is completely snapped off, so that'll definitely need to be replaced. I'm not looking to restore this bike to to be factory new looking. Obviously I'm going to clean it up, paint it whatever color I like, and but I'm going to hold off on any paint work until I'm sure I can solidify the frame and take care of that crank issue, because if I can't fix those things, there's no reason for me to put any more effort into this bike. So I'm going to get started today with taking the bike apart down to the frame. So if you give me a couple of minutes here, I'm going to get the bike up onto my repair stand, and I'll go from there. As you can see, I have the bike up on the repair stand now, and it's clamped by the seat post. First thing I'm going to do is take the front wheel off, because that's about the easiest thing I can do. And I'm not sure if I'm actually going to have to release the brake caliper here. It's been a long time since I've worked on any bike at all. But the brake pads are so worn here that I might be able to just slip it through. If not, I might just release one of the brake pads. So I get a wrench on that and get the wheel off. Looks to me like 13 millimeter on that, but I'll double check. Looks like I have a pretty good eye. Indeed, I have the wheel off now, and it was most definitely a 13 millimeter nut. So the fender also came off because the plastic bracket there is broken. Given the condition of the fenders, I may not even assuming I can fix the frame, I may not even put the bike back together with fenders. I just don't think they're all that necessary, especially the way I would be using the bike. So I guess the next step is going to be to get the rear wheel off, which is going to be a little more complex because of the internally geared hub here. I've got to figure out the best way to release this, whether I'm undoing this nut here and pulling the cable, or unscrewing the adjuster here. Probably just will undo the cable, and then from there it's a 13 millimeter wrench to get the Is it 13? No, actually it's not 13. Looks like maybe 15 to get the rear wheel off. And for that I am going to need an open-ended wrench, so I'm going to go to the garage to get that. Okay, I've got the rear wheel off, and probably take off the rear fender while I'm at it. In order to make this a lot easier, I took the chain off. Actually, I'm not even sure if there's a way to get the chain off without... Sorry. In order to make this easier, I took the chain off. That is easier to get the rear wheel off. You can see here, the if we can just focus on it, this is the master link in the chain. Really just kind of had to bend the chain a little bit and insert a screwdriver there, and that popped apart. So now that I have the chain off, I'm probably going to get a container and soak that in degreaser or something similar. So give me a moment while I figure out what my next step is here. Well, as you can see, I have the seat post out. Well, the top seat post anyway. The bottom one here, I'm going to leave it in for now because this quick release is broken and I'm going to have to release that. But more importantly, this seat belt is what's supporting the frame right now, so I'm just going to leave that as is. I wanted to show you one more thing here. This is something I remembered from early on, but didn't remember until just now. If you hear that, all that notchiness is in the headset right now, so that's going to need a total rebuild. So, let's see if I can do anything about it. So as you can see, the handlebar assembly does kind of pivot on this point right here. And what I noticed is that, let's see if I can show you this while I'm also holding the camera. Well, it's really hard to see, but basically the top piece here is moving independently of the fork, and I'm guessing that's because these lock rings here are not tightened up enough. So like I said, I'm guessing that once I have these tightened down properly, it should work just fine. And obviously I'm going to have to take the lock rings off anyway to take out the fork, and probably have to rebuild the headset assembly with new bearings. So probably not going to get into that today. I think what I'm going to do right now is try to get the I guess this swivel piece of the frame here, this chrome piece. I'm going to get this off. Say Phillips head screw and two nuts on the end of those machine screws. So I'm going to try to get this piece off right now. Okay, I've got the support piece off here, and it looks like this really hasn't had any grease in it, and probably since the bike was almost new. So the next step for me is I'm going to actually take the fork out, and you have to get a couple more tools to do that. So the fork and the handlebars are going to come off, but in order to facilitate that, I'm going to first have to undo the brake cables, and that way the cables won't hang up on the frame. Okay, I've got the cables disconnected from everything, so the last step here is to release the lock rings, and since I don't seem to have the correct type of wrench to grab in here in these slots, I'm just going to grip it on the outside with some channel locks. So give me a few minutes, I'll get the fork out. Okay, I have the handlebars completely separated from the bike, and seems to be more lock rings in here, but I wanted to show you this here. You can really see with the handlebars off how notchy this is. that headset's about as bad as I've ever seen one. But hopefully, with some fresh ball bearings and grease, it'll be as good as new. So, some more lock rings here, or at least one more, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to grab this directly with the channel locks. I may need to get a couple of screwdrivers in here to turn this, or I may even need to wait until I get a special tool for that. So, I'm going to see if I can release it right now. If not, I'll just move on to something else. Okay, I've got the fork out of the frame, and actually, on a very quick first glance, the bearings look like they may even still be serviceable. Obviously, it was dry in here, but I'll bet if I put this all back together with fresh grease and tighten it properly, that it's probably going to be okay. So, good news there. Of course, now I'm getting the bike down to the frame, and I'm seeing the original silver. And as much as I love Dahons, I've never seen a silver quite this drab. I'm thinking about what color I might want to paint it if I can solidify these hinges on the frame. And I'm thinking possibly black or green or red. Definitely not this dull, almost primer type color right here. Okay, I've got the crank off the bike, and once again the bearings still seem to be in serviceable shape. It looks like the wobbly crank was caused mostly by the thrust washer here not being tightened down quite enough. Obviously it's also dry and needs fresh grease in there, but once again I'm just going to rebuild it as is. And if I do run into any problems with reusing these older bearings, I can obviously get new ones, but since individual ball bearings are just a little hard to find locally, I'm not going to worry too much about that. So now I'm going to start taking a look at the hinge here, and probably shut off the camera for a few minutes while I try to figure out what's going on. Okay, I figured out the problem here. Because it looks like up here there's no flex at this hinge, and it's certainly not at this point or at this point. All the flex is happening right here, where this not sure exactly what to call this piece goes through the frame here, and it looks like just over time it's just kind of worn the hole bigger, and this is what I'm going to have to fix. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, but I'm thinking right now what I might do is just disassemble this whole pin right here, take it out, and then maybe find some kind of a bushing that I can put here in the frame that'll be the exact that'll have the exact inner diameter of this pin. And what that'll do is, if I can get the bushing to sit nice and tight here between these two joints in the frame, that might brace things up enough. So that's what I'm thinking about right now. I might just take this piece down to Home Depot, see if there's anything I can do with it. And as such, I think that's where I'm going to call it a day. It's about all I can do at the moment without any more parts or anything. So, and for what it's worth, this rust I showed you right here, I'm feeling inside the frame, and certainly does feel solid. So just planning on cleaning this up. You can see there's some surface rust inside the frame. I'll spray whatever I can in there to make that nice and solid again, and prevent further spread of rust.